So I did not buy Concord, and judging by the Steam numbers, many others didn't as well.
Oh no!
I feel like I'm the kind of guy who would be the target market for a game like this. I love my Halo, I love playing Call of Duty, and I don't really dive much into hero shooters, but I would like to see what else is out there. Something out there might get my attention. And with Call of Duty starting to feel a bit stale again, Halo not really in the greatest situation, I'm kind of primed to be like a target candidate to jump in to play Concord. And plus I play on PC, so why didn't I do it? Well, it really comes down to three main things. One being gameplay, character design and implementation, and also the cost of the game itself. And I'm not talking just the initial $40, I'm talking about just the cost of enjoying a live service game. Because your time is worth just as much as your wallet. So in this video, I want to talk about why Concord came in with just the lowest interest I've ever seen in a video game release ever. If you guys like these type of videos, like and subscribe is always appreciated. Let's get right into those details. So first, let's dive into the main bread and butter of what Concord is, the gameplay. When doing research for this game, I actually looked at the Wikipedia page and I read like what the gameplay is, right? And it just sounded so painfully generic. Concord is a sci-fi player versus player hero shooter video game played from the first person perspective. The game features a variety of alien characters, each with different abilities. Like, I'm already falling asleep trying to just read information about this game.
Boring!
I remember when I first saw the gameplay reveal trailer of Concord, and my initial impression of it was just like, man, this just not looking like what I thought it was going to be from the reveal trailer. Because when I looked at this, I was like, okay, you got hero characters. This weapon looks straight up like a sniper rifle from Destiny, which we'll get into that a little bit later, why that actually makes a big difference for me when it comes to buying into a game. It also seemed like just the gameplay looked very similar to Destiny, which, a lot of developers from Destiny worked on Concord to make this game. So there is a lot of that DNA, a lot of kind of similar type of animations, character design, weapon designs, and things like that. But the thing is, like, also like the vibe of the whole thing was kind of like trying to be like Apex Legends, which was like kind of fun, cartoony, just like, hey, we're gonna jump in and just shoot each other. It's gonna be a blast, you guys. And that's just not really like the vibe I'm looking to try to capture when I'm playing my games, at least for this point right now. It just doesn't really match with me. Like, that's the reason why I don't play Apex Legends. This one, just like, it just don't match with the vibes personally when it comes to a shooter. It's a great game, don't get me wrong. The mechanics are sound and fantastic, but I just don't really feel like it's for me. Also, the big thing I got from watching this gameplay too is like, one, you got the sharpshooter class, right? The guy who snipes. Like, yeah, that makes sense that would be in like a hero shooter game. Then you have the gunslinger character, which is like someone we've seen in pretty much every type of shooter game that has even form of classes or hero shooters. Think of like Overwatch, Destiny especially as well. Really just any other kind of game out there. Like, it's just like every game has like a gunslinger type of character. Then you have like, I guess it would be like a mage like character who's able to throw like fire bombs, which like this fire animation right here looks exactly the same as you would see from like Destiny throwing out like the fire grenades or something like that with like that double dash as well. Straight out Destiny as well. And also you have like your support character, right? The kind of the tank character, kind of break the front lines kind of thing. We've seen this a million times. And then you also have like the big robot character who's supposed to be like the healer. Even has a gigantic heart on the model of the character as well, as you can see like right here. Like there's even like a gigantic heart right here, just gonna let you know like, hey, this is the healer. And even just seeing the gameplay itself, just like watching it just without any kind of context, if you just took the UI off of this, you might even think this was like a Destiny DLC or something like that. Like, it looks so incredibly similar, which would kind of make sense, right? As Destiny is an incredibly popular game and people like to play it, and that's a good DNA to draw from, especially since a lot of developers, like I said earlier, from Bungie worked on this game. But the problem is that like when you try to copy everything else, it doesn't really make you stand out more, which the gaming industry is so tough right now when it comes to being able to make a name for yourself and stand out amongst the crowd, that if you just kind of look like a lot of other games out there, that's a big problem. And can I just point out this UI for a second? It feels so incredibly cluttered right here with like, you can see the 5 characters that are alive right now on your screen, which is actually good information to know, but I don't think it's really that necessary at times. You have your mini map as well, but then look how large like the ability and health bar are on the screen. It takes up a whole lot of real estate right there. And you have your typical weapons down here, which honestly, like, dude, that straight up looks like a Destiny weapon, I swear to God. Like, I'm just, you're being honest with you guys right here. So just watching the gameplay in action, plus like the name tag above the character's head is so large as well that like, it just seems like there's just so many things going on. You also have the kill feed that pops up over here along the right side. And then you also have some subtitle text on the bottom. Like, there's just a lot of things happening on the screen right now that just seems like it's just so much overstimulation, which I would really prefer to have less UI so that you can immerse yourself more into the game side of things. But clearly they went with more is way more when it comes to information on your screen. And I would also say with the map design of Concord, a lot of it seems very open and very standard. I wouldn't say basic because obviously there's a lot of design elements that went into this, but each one has very much just like up vertical hallways kind of thing. There really isn't much in the way of like cover you can kind of peek over or anything like that. Every type of engagement you would get into when it comes to gunfights in Concord are all very much one-on-one open ground, not a whole lot of cover or anything like that. So it's more about just positioning and maybe flanking characters more than anything else than actual like positioning and maybe out maneuvering characters or anything like that. It seems like it's very much just like run down an open hallway, shoot some characters against like some very basic cover format, and then go back into respawn screen like we see right here. For one, what I'm talking about here is a screenshot of one of the beta maps right here. You can see that there's just like a rectangular block in the middle just to kind of break up some lines of sight a little bit here. But then once you go around the corner, you see over here that there's just a vertical wall with I believe there's a stairwell right here. So if you're going to like peek that corner, you would have to just kind of go up that stairway and you can always kind of peek your head a little bit. But there really isn't much in the way of like dynamic cover or anything like that. It's very standard, very basic when it comes to just map traversal and utilizing the map to your advantage. A lot of it's also very level playing fields as well. There's not really much in the way of elevation differences. So here's like a looks to be a kind of a typical engagement you would see right here within Concord as you push forward, right? You see that one, you have like your tank characters kind of pushing up front, maybe pushing that front line a little bit. Again, you see the entirety of the character when it comes to a gunfight. There really isn't much in the way of like dynamic cover or anything like that to make each gunplay a little more interesting, a little more unique as we move forward within the gameplay to show that it's just like kind of more wide open spaces, 90-degree angles when it comes to cover, and it just like doesn't really seem like the maps are really that interactive or that unique or anything like that. Again, like you see right here, another just big open space where a tank character is trying to push forward to make some space, and then you're letting your abilities kind of spam around a little bit to be able to just create some space, you know, create some movement within the game and things like that. But for the most part, like it doesn't really just look that interesting of environments to jump into. Like visually they look fantastic, right? Very well textured. They are using Unreal Engine 5 with this game, but just like literally every angle you see on every single map is just 90-degree angles. I mean, there's not really much in the way of like unique type of environments to fight in. Now you might say, Kevin, this is just the style of shooter, right? You're just not used to it, which definitely could be the case. But when you look at other games out there that do very similar things, especially its most notable rival coming around, Marvel Rivals, you can look at the gameplay here and you can kind of just see how just different the vibes are, and the map design and gameplay of Marvel Rivals is going to be compared to Concord. Like even this segment right here, you can see one, the abilities really seem to make a huge difference. The dynamic map design where you can actually blow stuff up, that looks freaking awesome. And then look at that right here, you can see that with just like the way that level was destructed, the statue falls down, and now that's a new piece of cover right there, completely dynamic, caused by the player. That's so much more interesting to engage with. And also just look at the different types of elevation and angles players can attack from. You can see there's a walkway over here that gives you that different type of elevation. You have these different type of bits of geometry when it comes to like the statue as well. It gives you different type of angles to shoot around. It's not all just hallways are in 90-degree angles when it comes to getting into gunfights or gunplay and things like that. So it just kind of shows like how much more dynamic a game like this could be, which causes a lot more interest when it comes to playing like a hero shooter. Because even though a hero shooter sounds really generic and overplayed, all the major hero shooters out there is only like a handful really. Looking at SteamDB for the most played hero shooter games out there, right now it's Apex Legends, Team Fortress 2, Tom Clancy, And also Overwatch 2, you have like Black Ops 3, Battlefield, and like Titanfall, but those are not really considered hero shooters. So you really don't have like a handful of games out there that really are kind of taking up the entirety of like the hero shooter genre. It's just the thing is that we've seen so many hero shooters come and go, try and fail. But that means that there's space for people to create something that could be unique and stand out amongst the crowd. And plus Apex Legends is a hero shooter, but it's battle royale. Rainbow Six Siege is also a hero shooter, but it's more of an attack, defense, bomb mode, hostage type of game. And yeah, we have seen games like Call of Duty and Battlefield try to do the hero shooter aspect, and they just dropped it because it just doesn't lend itself to that great of gameplay. So there actually is a bit of a space for a decent new hero shooter, but the thing is that they just copied exactly what a hero shooter is and just put it into a different art style and called it Concord. If they did some kind of twist to the gameplay or do something a little different where it's not just straight up just like 5v5 team deathmatch essentially with characters who have different abilities, it could have lent itself to be something a little different, but really it just kind of comes off as another hero shooter. And being a hero shooter, the characters are incredibly important for it to be a successful type of game, and the character, well, the design of them at least, can be kind of questionable. Let me take you down the list here. So we got like a robot, he's a robot. Doesn't really look that interesting. He's actually just like a big cylinder. He looks kind of like the Michelin Man in robot form, basically. And you scroll down to this character Baz, which I don't know where they came up with this character design. Not really my thing, I would say right now. But if people like it, this one is just like Mrs. Freeze, I guess. I don't really know. Like, and plus, like again, like kind of touches on like that super happy, smiley, happy-go-lucky vibe when it comes to going into battle. I know it just does, the vibe doesn't match with me with this one. Duh. I mean, I'm just gonna say I'm not intimidated by this character, right? This isn't like some kind of badass where I'm like, oh, I gotta watch out for Daw. I'm just not in, it just doesn't really check with me on this one. Duchess here is just a grandma. I'm not intimidated by a grandma, I'm sorry. And Mari just kind of looks like a football player, but if you kind of like just made them look bigger. Hamar just doesn't really look that unique or interesting. Like, it's just like kind of a person who has like a bit of a style to their hair and wearing like a robe. And look at this character, I guess her name is Jabali, or if that's pronounced correctly. I mean, this just looks exactly like Cassidy to me from Overwatch 2. And I will say, like, a lot of these characters have like very humanoid faces. Like, some of them don't, but some of them just look like average people in different alien skin colors. And when the main characters here, Lennox, we've seen throughout all of the gameplay reveals, like, it just looks like a dude but with like green reptile skin, and like his face just looks like another human. And Starchild here just kind of looks like a really buff dude with some extra fur, and like, but that also has like a straight up human face on it. It just looks really weird. Another thing about the characters that it just really feels like not only did they copy a lot of aspects of other games out there that are really popular, but also pop culture as well. A lot of references are being made to Guardians of the Galaxy when it comes to this game, and you see it especially within some of the YouTube comments out there, which I'm like, man, that's some brutal stuff that people are saying. If you take a look right here, you can see like one of the top comments and the cinematic reveal of the game. One of the top comments is, make Star-Lord green, make the green girl Asian, make the big guy more different big guy. And instead of a tree and raccoon, how about a big robot and vacuum? This ain't Guardians of the Galaxy, that's Protectors of the Cosmos. Star-Lord and the gang from Temu. And not gonna lie, I totally get that vibe from watching these trailers. Now, one thing I talked about earlier in this video is how similar this game looks to Destiny and why that actually matters. Like, yeah, there are shared DNA across all shooters out there, but there's things about this game in particular that looks so much like Destiny when you're just like aiming down sights when you're looking down these kind of weapons, which is still purely an aesthetic thing, right? But the thing is that, like, if I'm gonna be playing this game, every time I'm gonna be ADSing, I'm gonna be thinking this looks like Destiny. This gameplay looks like Destiny. The way the animations are, the flame animations, the way the different types of grenades work and things like that. Like, it just reminds me so much of Destiny that I couldn't help but just think of like, I'm just playing a different version of this game. And when you're looking at these animations and over and over and over again, right, you're gonna see these thousands of times over. They need to look awesome, but the thing is that they just look like what I've seen before. And that's not really something that I want out of a game that I'm going to be jumping in and playing, especially for a live service game where I'm going to be investing a lot of time and effort and potentially money into it. But the thing is that, like, if it's just going to be giving me the vibes and just reminding me constantly of Destiny, I'll probably just want to jump in and play that instead because I'm more familiar with that gameplay. I'm more familiar with those mechanics in that environment. That if it just kind of plays like that, well, then I'll just go play Destiny. You know, it's not exactly a hero shooter. It has some type of elements like that within it, but it's still like just gives me those vibes constantly when I'm watching this gameplay. That just like it doesn't really stand out to me as something unique and something that's I don't want to be reminded of other games when I'm playing a different game, if you know what I mean. I think the most obvious big hurdle that Concord has going against itself is that it's a $40 game. When you go onto Steam here, like it's a full price $40 game when it comes to like live service multiplayer games. And you go, okay, it's 40 bucks when like if you get your money's worth, that's pretty easy to do. Like 40 bucks, like yeah, it's a considerable amount of money, don't get me wrong, especially in modern economy times. But the thing is that like it's compared to what the market has to offer, and there are so many great free-to-play games out there who have had years of development being hero shooters that like it's very difficult to just jump in right now when it comes to this gaming market at a $40 price tag. Now you might think to yourself, well, Sony already released a $40 multiplayer only live service game and it did amazing, that being Helldivers 2. But the difference with Helldivers 2 that it's a cooperative PvE experience, which is something we haven't really had a true like fun multiplayer experience like this since like Left 4 Dead 2, I would have to say, since we have something like this happen. And also the thing about Helldivers 2, it has so much character and such a vibe behind it that it really helps it stand out amongst the rest, that it doesn't really play like anything else that you've played before compared to Concord, where it just kind of feels like it's another hero shooter rather than a unique take on what the genre has to offer. Now, Concord did a very interesting thing when it comes to their monetization compared to other live service games out there, is that Concord does not have a battle pass, which is actually kind of nice for a change, because they're looking to get your money by spending it on microtransactions when it comes to like character skins and things like that, nothing gameplay effective, which is really nice to hear. But the thing is that like with a live service game though, it requires a lot of your attention, and there are a lot of really good games out right now. And the way a live service game typically acts is that if you want to keep up with the game, stay in tune with what's happening with all the updates, you need to continually keep playing the game and having it be another live service on top of whatever live service people are already playing right now. It just takes up so much of your time. And that's what I was talking about earlier when it comes to the cost of Concord. Like yeah, $40 is a bit of a barrier, but nothing too insane. The monetization doesn't seem too crazy, especially with the lack of a battle pass. But the thing is that like a live service game takes up a lot of your time. And if anything, that's the most valuable thing you have to offer to Concord, and it doesn't really seem to give you that type of value back. So it really just seems like that Concord has just a lot of shared DNA across a lot of other games out there. It's almost like ChatGPT made a hero shooter and this is what came out. What the game seems to offer seems to be good. If you look at the Steam charts right here when it comes to reviews, mostly positive, 72%. That's not too shabby. I mean, there's only 373 reviews, but at the time of making this video, but people who played Concord are enjoying it. It's just that not a lot of people were interested in playing in the first place. So Concord could really just be an example of just being good, but not good enough. So if you guys played Concord, if you have, let me know in the comments what your experience has been with the game. I don't really see myself ever jumping in and playing this game, especially with a live service game with such a low population that it will be difficult just to find matches in general when it comes to playing the game, unless you're playing like your standard modes, that I just don't have any interest in it. Plus I have such a backlog of games that like I just need to get through all the amazing releases that happened in 2023. If you guys enjoyed this video, like and subscribe is always appreciated. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.